This is Mama Lucy coming to you on this hot September day. Um, those who know me outside of this box know that one of my favorite things is books, and I mentioned that last week of how it's been passed to me. My daddy loved to read, and so I always have two, and I wanted to pass that down to my youngins. And so I get asked all the time, what are some of my favorite children's stories on Appalachia? So I wanted to share a couple of those, show you those today, share those with you, and then read one to you at the end, my absolute favorite one. And that one is this one. And it is When I Was Young in the Mountains by Cynthia Rylant. And she is like I have two right here, my favorite authors of children's books on Appalachia, and she's one of them. So this is one of hers that she wrote that I love. The other one, this was Mama's favorite. Mama loved this book. When the Relatives Came. She would say that growing up, when all the cousins came to her Granny Fanny's, that it was just like this, that they would all roll up in quilts and line up on the floors and sleep in every nook and cranny. So this one's another one by her that's an absolute favorite. This one's for a little bit older children, maybe 4th or 5th grade. This is also by Cynthia Rylant. It's Appalachia, The Voices of Sleeping Birds. So I have a really favorite part in this one that I want to read to you really quick, an excerpt from this that I just love, because y'all all know how much I love canning. It's my favorite thing. So, in the summer, many of the women like to can. It seems their season. They sit on the kitchen chairs, on back porches, and they talk their lives while they snap beans or cut up cucumbers for pickling. It's a good way for them to catch up on things and to have time together alone, for neither children nor the men come around much when there's canning going on. And y'all who can know that's the truth. So this is another one by Cynthia Rylant. Appalachia, The Voices of Sleeping Birds. Just love her stuff. My other favorite children's author that writes on Appalachia is Gloria Houston. And she passed on last year, but she's just great. This is about her great aunt Arizona, who is a school teacher in the mountains. Just love it. Just a beautiful book and story. And then this one she wrote. It's called The Year of the Perfect Christmas Tree, and it's about a community where the families took turns getting the town's Christmas tree. And when it was this family's turn, their daddy was away in World War II, and it's how Mama stepped up to the plate while Daddy was gone, and then they were able to get the Christmas tree. It's just a really sweet story too. So these are my favorites. I'm sure you could get them at most libraries. You know, it's just real important we pass on the love for our culture of the mountains to our youngins, and these are just beautiful ways to do it. So I'm going to read you, like I said, my favorite book, my favorite children's book, probably hands down of any children's book. And that's the guinea you hear, and I apologize. She might get going, and we'll have to take a break, but we'll try. When I Was Young in the Mountains by Cynthia Rylant. And I wanted y'all to see the pictures, but I don't know how well I can do with that and this, but we'll just give it a whirl here. And I know so many of you that grew up in the mountains have either read this, can relate to it, or that. See, there's the granddaddy with the coal miner. When I was young in the mountains, grandfather came home in the evening, covered with a black dust of coal mine. Only his lips were clean, and he used them to kiss the top of my head. When I was young in the mountains, grandmother spread the table with hot cornbread, pinto beans, and fried okra. Later, in the middle of the night, she walked through the grass with me to the Johnny house, or outhouse as we called it, and held my hand in the dark. I promised never to eat more than one serving of okra again. Not wanting to be going in the dark. Not fun. When I was young in the mountains, we walked across the cow pasture through the woods carrying our towels. The swimming hole was dark and muddy, and sometimes we saw snakes, but we jumped in anyways. Now, everybody's going to get in on this with the guineas and the chickens, and everybody's going to do. Sorry about that. That's just how it is here. On our way home, we stopped at Mr. Crawford's for a mound of white butter. Mr. Crawford and Mrs. Crawford looked alike and always smelled of sweet milk. So I'm sure there's Mr. and Mrs. Crawfords in y'all's life too. When I was young in the mountains, we pumped pails of water from the well at the bottom of the hill and heated the water to fill round tin tubs for our baths. Now, we've all had them stories of washing in them wash tubs on Saturday night before church on Sunday. Yep. And there's trying to get that picture in there. I don't know how good that is. So, afterward, we stood in front of the old black stove, shivering and giggling, while Grandmother heated cocoa on the top. Ain't nothing like that. Nothing like that food made with love on that old cook stove. When I was young in the mountains, we went to the church and the schoolhouse on Sundays, and sometimes we walked with the congregation through the cow pasture for the dark swimming hole for baptisms. And we can all hear him say, "We shall gather at the river," right? Yeah, hear him walk down to that river. My cousin Peter was laid back in the water, and his white shirt stuck to him, and my grandmother cried. When I was young in the mountains, we listened to frogs sing at dusk and awoke to the cowbells outside our windows. Sometimes a black snake come in the yard, and my grandmother would threaten it with the hoe. We all got them hoes, don't we? Threaten it with the hoe. If it did not leave, she used the hoe to kill it. 4 of us once draped a long snake, dead of course, across our necks for a photograph. When I was young on the mountains, we sat on the porch swing in the evenings, and Grandfather sharpened my pencil with his pocket knife. Grandmother sometimes shelled beans and sometimes braided my hair. The dogs laid around us, and the stars sparkled in the sky. A bob white whistled in the forest. Bob, bob, bob white. Y'all all know that sound. That's a precious sound. Oh, here's that picture. So this is my favorite part of this book. This is exactly sums up how I feel. When I was young in the mountains, I never wanted to go to the ocean. I never wanted to go to the desert. I'm sorry. I never wanted to go anywhere else in the world. For I was in the mountains, and that was always enough. Yep, the mountains are always enough, aren't they? They shelter us and take care of us and protect us. So they're always enough. And I thank y'all for listening and watching, and I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you'll go out and get some of these books at the library, or maybe for a birthday or something for your youngins, and keep them in your family and keep them passed down. And we will see you next week. Thank you.